is the big news that there have been new captains decided by Coach Bruce for the next set of international matches. We'll discuss Ronwem Williams stepping in to that big role as the captain of Bafana Bafana and deputized by none other than Percy Tau, who's also just finalized his recent move to Al Ahly. So much to munch on as we get stuck in. I'm joined by none other than Brighton, Greg, and Kelvin this evening. Gents, welcome to the show. And for sure. No, thank you. Today, some of you learned important lessons around portrait and landscape, the difference, and it shows. So thank you for upskilling yourselves. Gents, let's start with the big news before we get to what's happening with Bafana Bafana. But Percy Tau, of course, just completing that move from Brighton to Al Ahly. Thoughts on that? Player in his prime, decides to come back. I'll juxtapose whatever you guys say with what I thought was interesting from Coach Benny McCarthy. Remember, in the chat, please engage with us, your thoughts as well. We're going to dip into more of those tonight and also give you an opportunity to join us on the Zoom chat a little later. Who's chomping at the bit? Greg, you look like you want to take this one first. What do you make of the move, Percy Tau, from Brighton to Al Ahly?
For me, first of all, good evening, and good evening to our viewers and listeners.
We're just trying to fix football, guys.
Yeah, I feel for me, Percy Tau, for me, I think as a player, he just want to play. That's why he has to make that move. But if you look at it in the other aspect again, I think for me, the agent, it's okay. A little bit. I mean, he never worked during the off season, and he never really put things into place for fighting for Percy to play in Europe. Because for me, Percy to play in Al Ahly is a big team, which everyone knows. They have a rich history. But for Percy Tau and his age and his capability in terms of where he is now in terms of his football career, I think staying in Europe would have been the best option for him. That's my personal opinion. You can go to, you can stay in Belgium. A lot of teams there in Belgium.
Yeah, it said he did have offers in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel like, there's big teams in Europe that he can still play for, which I think he can really improve his game, in everything, because he is one shining light in South African football now that, everyone look up to in terms of, as a striker, the next big thing coming from South Africa. Yeah, going to Al Ahly is not, it's not his fault. He just needs to play. So, and it's a big team, playing Champions League and, fighting for the league in Egypt is one good thing for him. Right now he just want to play, so wherever he goes to, he just want to play. But, if you look at the side again, as I said earlier, I think staying in Europe could have been the best for me.
Okay. Brighton, agree or disagree? Upside, up move, down move, sideways move. How do you see it?
Yeah, look, we can look at it in whichever way we want to look at it. But I think the main important thing here, it's what the player wants, And he went as far as saying that he just wants to play football. What's the point of him staying at Brighton if he's not getting any game time? However, I believe that, yes, somehow we feel like it's a bit of a, backwards move for him, because he has given so many South Africans so much hope to say we can break into the EPL, and having to look at it again is that he's been in the matchday squad a couple of times, many a times, if I'm not mistaken, and he was on the brink of breaking into the starting lineup. Yes, we understand that Graham Potter went as far as saying that he's gonna get two strikers who are going to be ahead of Percy on the starting bed, but you never know what may happen. Like now, recently, Mope, after Percy's departure, Mope, the other striker, just got injured. You understand? I believe that was one of his chances to step up and show what he's capable of, and he's been doing it without been a chance. So I believe that, yes, we might feel otherwise, like we do always have opinions, but it's about what the player wants. But at the same time, for his growth, I believe, and I think that the advisors should have been more specific in terms of looking for whether we discuss whether it's future long-term plans or short-term plan for him going to Al Ahly, But for me, as I said, I believe that it's a bit of a backward move, but at the end of the day, we'll have to support the player's decision and only wish for the best for him to do well and get to step up, because he did have a couple of offers overseas where he could have stayed and at least further his football onwards, playing abroad, trying to fight for Europa. Now there's this new conference league as well. So chances of playing European football were very high for him, as opposed to coming back playing the African league. But at the end of the day, everything lied with him, and we shouldn't forget as well the impact that Coach Pizza has in him as well. Maybe it did play a huge role as well. We'll never know. We only know they only know what might have transpired, But all we can do is hope for the best and wish him all the best to perform at his level best as well.
Yeah, maybe Kelvin, some will argue that he'll now become an asset for Bafana Bafana in a sense that, he'll be playing at such a good level with Al Ahly, obviously in Champions League, having opportunities to even go to Club World Cups. So in that sense, he's not playing at a low level. He's still going to get a good fair share of high quality football. So what does that do then to the whole argument that, to become valuable to a national team, you should be in Europe? Do you think Percy might be able to buck the trend, being tested every week by fellow African players all around the continent, and then, bringing that expertise into a Bafana Bafana setup as the vice captain now? Your mic is off, Kelvin. Hey. Two steps forward, 5 steps back. What's up, doggy?
Hello. Yes, first of all, good evening to the listeners and my colleagues right here.
The viewers.
I would like to just off-ramp a little bit with whatever that they've said. I will say something different. Not all is lost. Everything is still in the kitty for Percy. It's for him to play. And also, there's no need for you to be ranked higher, but you're not participating. So you need to be there, day in, day out. Yes, the chances are very slim for him. Firstly, we need to look at the body structure of Percy. Is he a player that allows the Brighton squad to work around him? Yes, nippy player, short, understands the game, good left footer. They have a great understanding of the game. But however, him going to Al Ahly, I think this is where he's going to revive his career, because now he's trusted when he's there. So there's more trust in him, and also a benefit for us to see Percy playing more regularly. I understand the gents, or they will say it's a step back forward. For me, I would disagree. It's not a step back forward. It's not a step back, but I can say that this is a step forward. If I get matches still at a competitive standard, it gives us an opportunity to see more and also have confidence when he's called into the Bafana Bafana squad. Just as for now, he's been given another lifeline where he's given a captain umbrella. This is another way of trying to encourage the player to show us what that he's been bringing into the table. Pito, I'm sure he might have had a long conversation with him in terms of what are the plans for him, how would it actually like to work around the system and the squad. Some of the players at Al Ahly would be leaving. There's keen interest also there. So also for him, there's an opportunity. I understand my colleague Brighton has mentioned that there's one striker that was injured. That was an opportunity for him. But for me, as I looked at it, it's not that Percy is not a good player, but I feel that the coach didn't trust him that much as in the leagues that he's been playing in. In Belgium, they were trusting him more than when he went to England. When he came back, they were under pressure to call him back because of the interest and also the way he was playing. But within 1 or 2 games that they fielded him, he showed us what he can do, but they did not continue on that. And that, as a player, it breaks your confidence in a way. You also start thinking that maybe a move away to also go back again and gain my confidence. Even though there were options that were there outside Percy, but again, a player would always have to look in terms of where am I going and what system are they playing? How am I going to apply myself?
So I guess, yeah, you're right. With Coach Pizzo, he can be at the center of a project. with someone who knows him well and knows his strengths and knows how to use them. But I guess, yeah, in terms of that, what does that mean? Al Ali, people are thinking, the likes of Benny McCarthy saying that to the point about sticking it out, that it's not like he had like true world beaters ahead of him, that you didn't stand a chance. If you have a Ronaldo, a Haaland, or whatever ahead of you, you don't stand a chance. It was players that he could have been as good as, Calvin. So, I mean, to your point, I hear you, but, will he ever realize his full potential now, do you think?
I think he will. But again, let us not try and then place Percy within anyone else. Yes, of course, it is a competition, or they were not like world beaters, as you just put it, the players that he cannot start. But if a coach doesn't trust, he doesn't believe in me, what am I going to do? Because I'm sure Percy in training works great. The reason why they called him back is because they saw a space where they could place him. But now that has failed. So me coming from a team in Europe where I've played like 95% of the games, and then I get into my team that assigned me, and then they benched me. That's going to drop my confidence also. Now I need to start afresh, start working on my psyche, start working on my confidence before I would even be given an opportunity. It would be one up on me because already I'm being thrown in to perform. All right. So within the players that they have in front of him, and also the injury, bearing in mind that there would be injured players. But again, I think Percy deserves to also start, because we saw what we did when the coach gave an opportunity. Why didn't he continue with it? As I'm saying, also we have to look at the physical aspect of Percy Tau and how the coach wants his squad composition. Is he a right fit in terms of the structure? Does he want the player to be at that structure for his system? Maybe not. But if he was, immediately when Percy Tau came from Belgium, he was supposed to be a starter, because he has proven to us. He even played on the Champions League, which proved that, yes, he's capable. He can deliver for that. But when he got there, then he was benched. Then what's the use for me to stay there? To wait for when an opportunity that might not maybe come?
Yeah. Greg, what do you think about him leaving Europe and heading to Africa? Do you think that does anything, or is it the same? Had he stayed in, maybe done a move back to a Belgium, and then now moving to Egypt, is that maybe where some people think, maybe had he stayed in Europe, he could have been in the proximity of other teams that could maybe come in again for him? And some people maybe feel that now he's playing, back in Africa, he might get forgotten on that stage.
Yeah, for me, as I said earlier, with Percy, we always expect a lot from him in terms of he is the shining light in terms of South African football now. Signing for Brighton, it wasn't a mistake. They saw something good in him, and that's why they signed him. He couldn't, there's a lot of things that happened that time. He couldn't stay. He went to Belgium and he proved himself. He played the Champions League with the likes of two Nigerians, the strikers there, which they did very well against Real Madrid. The Ramos them, they tear them apart, with their pace and everything and skills, And for me, I just feel like, staying in Europe could have been a very, very, very good option, in terms of, every playing wise. You might not stay at Brighton. You might go to the lower division, in terms of the first division in England. You might go back to Belgium. There's the Anderlecht, the FC Bruges, which each and every season they play the Champions League and they compete in the league too. So going to Al Ahly, I think it's not his own doing. You cannot fault him for that. He needs to play. So that's why I'm saying that, it's advisor or people around him that, supposed to be doing their work off season. I think, they were sleeping, because I think for me, there's a team in Belgium or a team in England that is how we play week in, week out, which will be good for him, We have the likes of Benny McCarthy, Mark Fish, Steven Pienaar. They stay in Europe. There's a time in Everton, Steven Pienaar don't play. He just come in as a substitute, or for a full season, he never played. But he stood there, he fighting, because you need to fight. Nothing comes easy. If coach don't play you today, doesn't mean you're not going to play you tomorrow. So you might, I mean, the season is just starting and the window haven't closed in Europe and already signed in other league, which is a good thing. You know, we don't argue that because he needs to play, but we are saying that with the caliber of Percy Tau, with the quality he has, I think he deserves to stay in Europe and fight there, find a club and play in Europe there.
You're right. And I think Brighton made the point that, you know, with the expanded competitions, there would have been opportunities there to kind of, you know, be on a stage of some sort in that Eurozone, playing in that Conference League or even other levels, depending on where he ended up. If he had gone, maybe he might have been with the Europa team, who knows? But it also goes to show that, you know, when you have a coach who signs you and then the coach doesn't stick around and then the new guy tries and, you know, to indulge you and use you as an asset of the club, and it doesn't work out because obviously Chris Hughton was the one who signed him. Then Graham Potter couldn't get the best out of him. So I guess he's moved to the extreme opposites to a coach who can. So he's 27. Let's see. Let's see what happens. But looking ahead, gents, obviously these World Cup qualifier fixtures, Zimbabwe versus South Africa versus Ghana. How do you guys feel about these games on the horizon, considering this new youthful Bafana side injected with some, just a different take? Maybe let's start there. What do you make of Coach Bruce's squad and the players that he's got?
I mean, look, the coach can always, we as supporters, we can always say this one should have been selected, this player, this and that. But at the end of the day, I think the coach and the technical team, when they sit down, they do their own profiling, tactical and technically. They see fitting as to which player they want to select ahead of the team profiling that they do. Therefore, I can say that it's a much inexperienced team, but it has very exciting faces, new faces. And some of the players, they went on and did well during the COSAFA tournament, and they're doing well for their teams. However, we should be mindful because we just failed to qualify for the AFCON, which is still on the back of our minds. And this is a real test. I mean, when you look at their counterparts, Zimbabwe, they've just called up a very experienced team. However, obviously, they have minor crises in terms of the travel visas, in terms of going to the red flag countries, COVID countries, stricken countries. So when you look at it, you can see that, well, they are serious about this. This is the World Cup qualifier. And when you look at also the stats, I mean, from 1993 until 2013, when we played against Zimbabwe, I mean, Zimbabwe had won like 7 games and only drawn a few and lost probably 6. So it's been a toe-to-toe encounter, you know. So these are the things that we need to look at. But when we look at the team sheets right now with the team that we've announced and what Zimbabwe has, these are the guys who've been at the AFCON qualifiers, AFCON tournaments, World Cup qualifiers, who recently played a serious game against Egypt, you know. So these are the tried and tested and very experienced campaigners. So we'll just have to wait and see how it's going to fare out. But I mean, all we have to do, we just have to rally behind the coach. And we've been saying that we want a fresh new start, a new lease of life. This is the new lease of life that we've been asking for. And at the same time, all we got to do is just to trust the process. However, many will question that at whose expense, because chances are if we don't qualify, we'll be calling for the coach's head. So we need to draw the line to say, are we trusting the process that we're building? Because we did say the same thing with Stuart, saying what we were planning for 2022. And the 2022 is just around the corner, and we didn't see any result. We didn't see where we're going in terms of continuity, in terms of consistency within the selection criteria and so forth, you know. So those are the things that we need to look at. We put up front and decide which direction are we headed, and then we trust in the process. So all we can do now is just support the coach and the boys.
I agree with you, but I'm looking at this squad, Kelvin Sosibo. I don't know if if you've seen the squad for Zimbabwe, but had you seen the squad as a player, you would have had an injury and not wanted to go to camp. I mean, the squad is Iwima. It's quite hectic. There's so many star-studded names there. And I think more than anything, right, is, like you say, the experience. So, Calvin, what is the realistic expectation here? This is a young side, cobbled together. They're not having played, that often together. But I feel like the Zimbabwe players have a lot of, let's call it muscle memory between them. So now what? What's the realistic expectation from these games?
We're gonna build till when? We don't build at the senior level. What is the development for? Why do you have under 17, under 23, and so forth?
Okay, so you reckon these guys must be fully baked? The squad is fully baked.
Yes.
These players must be fully baked and ready to perform.
Yes, we want to qualify here. If you want to play this tournament where we want to build, do it on the under 23 and under 17 and under 20. Don't do it here because there's no patience here. There is no patience here. Whenever you select a squad needs to have maturity because you are playing at the highest level. This thing that you are calling youngsters to a senior team, there's no youngsters on the national team. Senior, there's no youngster. You do not call a youngster in the senior level. When you are called upon to perform for the senior national team, you take up that position. You also
become a man.
Apply yourself that now you're a senior player. Yes. So now let's start integrating players and understanding that you're called up into the national team because you are opening up a window where you are saying, even if they lose, at least they are young. Young what? What's the age? What's the age? What is being young? Being young is playing at the under 17 and under 20. Don't tell us you are young when you are playing at the senior level. Why are you called for a senior level? To perform the duties. The squad composition that the coach has assembled, we might like the fact that they are fresher faces, but let's also look at the reality. If you contrast Zimbabwe and South Africa, there's a huge difference. So if you do get a beating, now what is going to be your excuse? No, they are young, they are still building. We need to qualify here. There's no building here. We need to qualify. And we need to make sure that those players, it's good for them to get a chance to cement their position. And also, I think this thing was done haphazardly. We're just doing a wholesome changes and refreshing. And also the explanation of the coach on how he refreshes the squad. You can't take up everything and then replace it with something. If you build gradually. Experienced players are always at the bottom to guide the youngsters.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to think so. Pindulo Ramasunga on the chat says, I like the squad, very youthful. The unfortunate part is that us South Africans will expect them to perform like Brazil whilst we're at a very low level. We just need to be realistic. I think that last line is for you, Kelvin. We just need to be realistic.
Realistic is the name. Realistic is the word. And I think it goes a long way, guys. Let us stop saying these things. People that are called at the senior level, they are youngsters, please. If a player is 15 years and then he plays for Orlando Pirates or Chiefs, that player is no longer young because he can exhibit whatever that the coach has seen in him. So if he cannot, the coach will not call him up. So let us not make an excuse and have a safety net where he makes a mistake and then we say, oh, okay, he's still young. No,
Kevin, give
when
them
are we
chance,
going to grow?
Give them chance. Kevin, give them chance, please. Mr. Kevin,
chance
give them
to
chance.
Do what? Why there's the development?
They need to start somewhere.
Why there is a development? Where's the development?
No, you have to start somewhere. You need to start somewhere.
Somewhere where? Somewhere where?
Why? Because the old head that we always believe on them, they never qualify us. Even in 2024 men country, they never qualify us. So let's start afresh. Let's start somewhere. We need to start somewhere. Everybody needs to start somewhere. There's a time.
But then when we start,
Greg. This is my point. When you're starting afresh, you don't break the whole house, boss. When you extend
he's saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So you are doing the wrong thing. You are encouraging the wrong thing here. You need to have a base, boss. A solid foundation will actually direct your house. I don't know, maybe you don't build the same. We don't build the same. So maybe that might be the difference.
You have Williams is there. So we have Williams.
But who else?
And who else?
We need to look at, look at the spine. The spine of the team already. There's no continuity from where we were. So the main important thing here.
Who else? Please support your point.
There's what's his name? Mbala is in and out in the squad.
No,
if I'm not
but we're talking about
Greg, man.
How many caps does he have?
No. Let's be realistic here. The people that you're talking about.
No, you are not realistic. You are not being realistic yourself. No.
Let me get my point. Let me get my point. You Tyson that is the former captain.
He's not there. Please don't count players that are not there, Craig. Please continue with the squad that we have.
Not there. We're talking about the whole head. You say let us break the house. You say we must keep the whole head and start with new one. So who are you gonna keep there? Percy Tau is there. You have the main guys. So what I'm trying to say to you guys,
there's also performing guys, yeah. So there is
what we're saying is there should be a cohesion in terms of integrating the older players with the new players.
But so on whose time, though, Brighton? On whose time? If you guys are saying that these things have to be done now, and Greg is saying those players couldn't qualify as then, why must we carry them over? How many chances do they get to help us qualify?
It's not all of them, Kamza. We have to look at the quality.
We need to look at the percentage rate as well.
You know, the old guys couldn't get it done, so why must we keep them? That's what the argument is.
That's where the experience comes in. We look at these players
that we have now. The last time, Brighton. That's what we're saying.
These players that we have now in this team, we compare them with their counterparts. Where are we going in terms of experience, exposure, and how many times have they played?
You cannot compare South Africa with any other counterpart. South Africa, for most part, those other teams are winning. Those other teams are qualifying. Ghana is qualifying. Zimbabwe, they're doing well. So you must start somewhere. You must do somewhere because the old guys that you wanted them to be in that squad, they haven't done anything for the past 10 years. So we must start somewhere. Starting somewhere means you must destroy and start again afresh.
May I come in, Greg? But listen, there's one thing that you are missing and you're not mentioning. A national team of South Africa, when it's assembled, it's never in sync for 5 years. There's always chop and change. So if we're contrasting with the other national teams, it's not the same thing that is being done. So that's one point that you're not actually highlighting. With Nigerians, if you have a Nigerian team, they will be together for maybe 6 or 7 years together. Then the filing of the other players. Listen. Let me make my point. Now, you go to a Zimbabwean team. They've all been around within the same as South Africa, but they've pushed ahead, which means the squad cohesion and also the integration of those players that are doing well. They are there. They keep on the continuity. You are looking for instant results. When it doesn't happen, then you chop and change players. So why do you do that? What do you expect? Now, the same thing. You're going to see all these fresh faces. They want to lose these 2 games, and then what are we going to say?
They are out again.
They are young.
That's the cohesion we're talking about.
Kelvin, let me give my... Let me give my point. Kelvin, Nigerian national team, when you go for a tournament or you didn't qualify for a tournament, that team, the whole players are out. That is for sure. We don't have time to say we want to wait for them to keep them all the time.
I've been watching. I don't think that is true. I don't think that is true. That's not true. No, that's not true.
What has been happening?
Let me finish my point. Nigerian team that went to Egypt and played and went out in the semi-finals against Algeria. How many players remain in that squad? The first 11 is 5. 5 of them. 5 of them.
That's good enough.
Even Daniel Akpeyi, that was the first choice. Now he went back to be a third choice. Nigeria doesn't have time to build or what we just say that no, let's keep them because they're not winning. South Africa, for a very long time now, they haven't won anything. And Kevin, me and you, every day we talk about if you want to be a big country in terms of football-wise in the continent in Africa, you need to start winning something. You don't.
No, be consistent. First, be consistent before you win. Be consistent before you win.
Consistency of keeping them not winning anything. Consistency, you want to talk about consistency, not winning anything. National team we play after 3 months. Wait, let me tell you something, Kevin. National team we play after 3 months. The next in 2 years you play a tournament, which is the AFCON. So if you don't win and qualify to the AFCON you want to play, so I must keep them again for another 4 years. No, man, Kevin. We need to start somewhere, Kevin. Leave the old team. They didn't qualify for the World Cup. They didn't qualify for the AFCON. Let's start afresh. Let's see what this one is going to do.
Yeah, they can't do any worse, is what Greg is saying, guys. Greg is saying they can't do any worse.
I don't agree with it.
They can't do any worse.
I disagree as well. I disagree. Have we thought about
something that is not saying?
Yeah, And,
Okay,
and
so
come to look at it, when you look at it, Greg, look at it this way. All these countries you're talking about, there's been continuity. Most of the Nigerian players, they played together on the under 23 or under 17s. They went to the World Cup as a team. That's the cohesion that we're talking about. Whereas with South Africa, how many players do you find in that squad who played together in the under 20s or now who just came back from the Olympics or and so forth? There's always a disjointed continuity when it comes to that. Therefore, when we're talking about, can I finish my point? Therefore, when you're talking about the consistency is always important in terms of identifying the philosophy of the team, the culture of the national team as well. These players that you're saying they didn't do well in the past, have you thought about this team? There's a team that qualified for the AFCON under Shakes Mashaba. That was the team, to tell you the truth. That was the team. 1940. That was 1940. We're talking about recently. Listen, isn't it you were mentioning 10 years and so forth? You said from 10 years. So we're trying to bring you up to speed. That was the team that qualified for the under 17 AFCON. That was the team that qualified for the under 20, which was part of it, and went to play the World Cup in Egypt. And that was the team that went to play AFCON in Morocco, under 23 qualifiers for the Olympics. And therefore, that team, when Shakes Mashaba took over, graduated to the senior team that subsequently qualified for the AFCON when it went to, which AFCON was it? Equatorial Guinea. You understand?
How many players were there, Brighton?
There were team.
That team was beating hands down. They didn't win one game. Right? What are you talking about?
But it's
a tournament. What do you expect?
Didn't they get us to the
tournament?
We're talking about team that give 4x4. You're talking about no Vikings. Don't talk about coach. We're talking about team qualified to the tournament and win it.
Okay. What about the team that just beat Egypt? What about the team that just eliminated Egypt?
Yeah.
What about the team
guys, I know you guys are going to make those examples, but you're right. We don't have those teams. We don't have that system where we can track people. Unfortunately, we don't have that. So unfortunately, we have to get creative. And that's what the coach has been brought in to do. So let's see.
He's a new coach. We talk about Sheikh Mashaba. After Sheikh left, how many coaches do we have now? We have about 2-3 coaches that came now. Bruce came in now. He give him a chance. He said, okay.
More than that. Not 2 coaches. More than that.
The best that took us to the quarterfinals.
I don't know.
This man has won an AFCON, guys. Let's see what he can do. He's won an AFCON. Let's see what he can do.
No. Kamza, no. I don't agree with that. When he took on Cameroon, that squad was ripe, was ready for the tournament. All players there were experienced players and European-based players. So please, let's not make that comparison. The squad inherited with Cameroon is different from what you're inheriting now.
That's fine, but I'm saying that he's effective. The big stars didn't even play in that tournament for Cameroon, actually. So it was a lot of the home-based players that time. He was able to get that performance.
The point is they were there.
Now, don't change the point. The point you're trying to make was that he had the best tools. He didn't. He made do with what he had, and he did well with that team. That's why he's been brought in, Calvin. That's what they expect here. That's what he's been brought in to do.
Kevin and Brighton. In this team now, in this current Bafana team, which player should be out and which player should be replacing the next player? Who is not in that squad in terms of current form? Who is not in?
I can tell you now.
Give you the lineup.
There'll be some Sundowns players. There'll be some Cape Town City players. There'll be. I mean, you can't please everybody. You can't please everybody. It is what it is. Let's see what he's done. Even
if
though
you are building, you must please everybody. If you are
no, that's madness. You can't please everybody by building. When building, that's
you are building, most.
No.
Building.
So are we saying? Oh, well, okay, it's fine.
I want to know, Cape Town City though, as a club, is it their place to be coming through and saying, "Hey, man, why aren't our players in the mix?"
Yeah, look, with Cape Town City, come to think of it, you need to understand that there was a Tamim Kize who's been a regular at Bafana, who's their captain as well, who's been doing well. Unfortunately, last season, things didn't go well for them, especially defensively with him and Tariq Philis as well, who was part of the national team setup, which for me, I believe that was one of the players that we could build around them because he's very solid, good height, he's very aggressive. He has all the attributes for a good defender, and he's still young as well, which I believe that we could have built something around him. If we're saying we're dropping the Tysons and, the other defenders, Yobushem Kwanazis, Tariq Phillips should have been one of the defenders that can stand in as one of their replacement. He has good leadership skills as well. I mean, never mind that Cape Town City last season, they considered like 40 goals. This time around, they've been doing well defensively. They came back, and credit to their new goalkeeper, Hugo Marquez. He came in and he's solid. I mean, he's very authoritative at the back. So he did manage to stabilize a bit and brought some confidence in them. So I think they do have a say to say, look, I think our players should continue being selected to the national team. Every coach feels that way with any player. I mean, even Sosibo, wherever he's coaching, he believes that his players, they deserve to be in the highest level, But like you've said, the previous topic, because it's a very sensitive issue, when it comes to who should be selected and who shouldn't be selected.
Yeah.
But all we need to do is just have the solid criteria to say, look, we're looking at, if we're saying we are building, like Greg is saying, then what criteria are we following? And how many pool of players do we have? Are we selecting from? You understand? We cannot be bringing players for one cap. Next thing, this player is not here. There's nowhere to be found. And then we're going to pick up another player. There's no continuity in that. That's the cohesion that we're talking about. So if we're going to have a pool of 40 players, I need to know that. I mean, some countries, at some point, I was looking at Belgium, how Martinez was doing things. He has a pool of around 50 players, whereby he phones every single player to say, guys, I'm not selecting you, Sosibo, because I believe that Greg is doing well, but continue working hard. Your chance is coming. And you are on standby, by so forth. You just have to be ready. So these are the kind of dynamics that we need to implement in our country. To say, if we have a pool of certain players, these players need to be in line. If Sosibo is not playing, then who's playing ahead of him is very important as well. So I think they do have a case there to say some of our players, they need to be there,
Okay, and then next thing they come back injured and then they complain.
I think also the criteria comes again. The players that are being compared to, most of them went under the development ranks. Some of the players that we have right now, look at the squad composition and tell me how many players understand the philosophy of the national team.
Yeah.
This is another point.
Okay.
So from there, we need to start looking at that, because we are talking building. I need to build.
Yeah, but I mean, you got guys here who played at under at some age level together. The likes of Luther Singh, Kiflings, Kutumela. I mean, these are players who know each other from the years gone by, no?
Yes, that's okay. Now we're going the right way. So I'm saying those are the players that you have. Correct. Now, we do not need to have that disjointment between those players. Yes, those players understand what it is to be in the national team. There are players that just came in now that have never been into any ranks, development ranks. So now they have to firstly adjust to the level where this is a national team, it's not a team. You may perform good on your team level, but when it comes to the national team, it's a whole different dynamics. Everything is different today because you are playing against international players. That's for one.
Okay.
Now, playing local and playing international is different. That's why our top players that are here in our country, when they play the likes of Nigeria, Cameroon, or Ghana, you can tell the difference between those countries. That those who have a higher experience in terms of the international level, hence the tournament is an international stage. So now when we're building from that, let's start from the bottom, guys, and understand that when we are picking players, I don't have a problem with the squad that is being picked. But what I have a problem with, are you building around players that understand what does it take to be in the national team from a junior age? Don't build at a senior level. Build below, then you graduate those players.
I don't know. That's okay. Let's agree to disagree, gents, because that one.
But international exposure is very important, Greg.
No. I disagree.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, Greg. Let's agree to disagree. I agree with you by disagreeing as well. I also disagree, but clearly we're clashing here. I want to get into some of the thoughts. Hold on, Gary. I'm going to come back to you. So Mila Landu says there's no need for continuation in the new era. Why would the coach continue with players of the previous coach? There we go. That's what they're saying about Bruce. Hulisan is like, I totally agree with Calvin. For how long will we be building? Because every coach that comes, they always say we're building. Why do we have under 17, 23 if we want to build? That's the platform to build. Raymond says Brighton is contradicting his previous point with Phillies. A good defender who has never played. Sorry guys, disturbances here. Brighton is contradicting his previous point with Phillies. A good defender who has never played in the national age group. How now he must parachute to the senior team. And then Somila is like, where is Lebu Matiba in the squad? Called up for the AFCON in Egypt. Haven't heard of him ever since. Hectic. That's a good point.
But then
And
comes
also Piri.
the Phillies
Lebu
point.
Piri.
The Phillies point. How many players now that were selected out of nowhere that came on and played? You understand? Isn't it we were questioning the point of saying Cape Town players, city players, they were not selected. So now, how is it contradicting if we're saying we have a player like a Sitebe and a Brooks who never played junior level, and yet they are deemed to have international exposure, whereas Phillies was part of the pool of the squad that has been selected by Stuart Baxter way before. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my point here is that there should be a cohesion and there should be continuity in terms of saying if we're selecting the player, we need to look at future plans or short-term goal. If I'm selecting Brooks, where will he be in the next 2 seasons? Yes, he's playing for TS Galaxy. Where is he going? Do you think he'll be part of the national team that will go to the World Cup? Does he have that international exposure that we require to qualify? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves, because international exposure is very much important and it's going to be key. We're looking at now the Ghana selection team. Ghana has a Mubarak Wakasu. Ghana has a Baba Rahman. Ghana has, obviously, who's this? There's this boy from Caleb Ebukani. There's Kudus, Mohamed Kudus, who's playing for Ajax Amsterdam. These are the players that we need to look at and compare and say, okay, do we have international exposure? No, we don't have that. That's the experience that we're calling for. That's all.
Yeah,
So
we'll see. I mean,
we look at.
No. I think the thing is, guys,
Phillies, how many games has he played? Phillies, how many games has he played in the PSL where he has established himself and he has solidified his position to a point that all the previous coaches have called him up, irrespective of not playing for the junior levels?
That's fine, guys. But I think to anyone can shut your point down, guys, by saying this. Those guys qualified us for nothing. That's all someone needs to say to you to counter your point.
Those guys lost in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's fine. But they can still say that. But though, can we admit there was an aging element in that group, right? There was a lot of experience.
Where's the continuity from there?
There's no need for it.
Refresh the squad slowly. Don't just refresh everything.
Okay, guys. You guys must apply for this job after Bruce is done. When Bruce is done, you guys must.
I'm there.
Greg, let's keep it moving, brother. Your thoughts.
Let's
move on. We're going to the MTN
There's
now.
my CV.
Yeah.
Here's your CV. Next thing, Bruce, I feel like he might surprise you guys. I don't know. I want him to surprise us. I want him to do well.
I doubt.
Yeah, we're not saying anything. We're always saying we're going to support them. But at the same time, we need to be realistic and point out the few things that can be a concern.
So you're saying that, okay, then we mustn't expect anything from this group. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because you are building. We shouldn't.
Okay. Hey?
No, we expect to win.
Expect to win. You speak about them in this manner, and then you say you expect to win. That's madness.
We support them.
No. I'm saying we shouldn't expect results because you are building.
So you don't expect them to do anything?
Isn't that what building for?
No. You, Calvin.
They will play. They will play.
Yeah?
Yes, but
what do you
shouldn't
expect them to do?
much.
What do you expect them to do?
I'm not expecting much because they are building.
Who says they're building?
Well, according to the coach, that's what that's what they're doing. They're but stand behind your point. No, but stand behind your point, right? Of that level, you are not building. Okay, stick to your point of that. It's not building time. If that is the case, and you believe that these guys in the squad are there as men to play for the men's team, what do you expect of them over these 2 games? Expectations and realization, far different things. We expect them to win. We expect them to win. However, we feel like there are some shortcomings within the squad. That will
expect them to win. But you expect them to win.
That's what we always do. Yeah.
It's an expectation versus the reality.
Yeah.
Expectation versus the reality. That's all we are saying.
Yeah.
Me, I will expect them to win, but reality says so. No.
Okay. So the reality of it is you don't think these guys are going to win these games?
No, I doubt.
For both of them, what is your prediction? 2 games, 6 points on the table. 6 points on the table. How many are we getting?
6 points on the table. Maybe you
6
might
points on the
get
table.
maybe
How many
one.
are we taking?
We might
One.
get one.
I think the worst,
Yeah.
the best we can get, it's both draws. I mean, looking at the stats as well. I was looking at the stats as well. Against Ghana, the past 5 outings, Ghana won 3 games. We drew 2 games. Which one I played that game in Moses Mabhida.
With the odd team.
Greg, come on, you're talking about
With the whole
stats
team.
here, man.
There's no old or new. It's the national team. It's Bafana Bafana. Greg, let's not try and personalize things. Let's not try and
How many new regimes have you had before?
Understand? This is a new coach. This is a
How
new
many
team.
How many
regimes
coaches have
you
we
had?
played against Ghana with? How many coaches did you play Ghana against with?
Guys, let's
How
see
many
what
players
Bruce is
have
doing.
played against Ghana with?
Let's see what he does,
Let's give
guys.
Bruce a chance.
Let's give him a chance.
and see.
I agree.
Let's give him a
I
chance.
agree. And on the last
Greg
word
wants
goes
to
to
laugh at
Silo.
us.
Silo says Ethan Brooks played for under 20 national team, bruh. Mbule Mukwena, Link Singh, Mabaliso played under 20 and under 23, gents. I agree with the selection. We've been asking for change in players for years. You see, that was the point I was making with you, Kelvin, saying that these guys know each other. And maybe, it's that muscle memory of having played with each other that might be able to get them.
Time frame also is important.
Let's see. Maybe that is what the coach is hoping at least will help them gel quicker. Is that at some level, these guys know each other and maybe they can replicate it at the senior men's level. Cool. Moving on.
We'll be back here.